Erica McConnell here, and I'm Sarah Oates.
Okay, thank you. We have a quorum of 4. Our 5th member will be joining us in Denali Park in a couple of months. He's at his daughter's graduation and music recital. That's what they call it at college. Opera. Okay, opera. I stand corrected. If you're a close follower of the agenda, we've changed it around a little bit. We're going to be doing most of the licenses tomorrow and the next day, just to try to compress that process. We've got some presentations today, and at this time, I guess we will, I'll say this real quick. We've got a metric presentation, so if there are any licensees who have questions about metric that you would like answered in front of the crowd, please put them in writing and get them up to us, and following the metric presentation, we'll pick out a couple, and after the board's had all their questions, we will ask those also. So we want to give you that opportunity, and of course network with them, because you can have some quality time with them out in the lobby when we go to executive session. So the chair will we will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So motion.
Second. Moved by Mr. Emmett and seconded by Mr. Miller. Any changes or adjustments on the agenda? Not seeing any. Is there anything I'm going to be like Bob? Is there any opposition to approval of the agenda? Not hearing any of the agenda. And we'll take a motion to approve the minutes of the May 7, 2018 meeting.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Emmett, second by Mr. Miller. Any comments, corrections on the agenda there? Any opposition to approval of the agenda? Hearing none, the minutes of May 7 meeting are approved. And which brings us to board governance. Ms. Knowles.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have 2 items on that for today. One is the declaration of any conflicts or potential conflicts that may have arisen in your professional or personal lives that could conceivably lead to a conflict of interest under the Executive Branch Ethics Act. And Mr. Chair, if you'll just ask each of your fellow board members whether there is any changes that might apply to that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Jones?
No changes.
Mr. Miller?
No changes.
Mr. Emmett?
No changes.
And I also have no changes.
Okay, well, that was good. Simple. The second issue, I just wanted to remind you all about the importance of being aware of ex parte contact. I haven't gotten any information that anyone's engaging in ex parte discussions, but I just wanted to remind you that everything this board does needs to be in the public eye. That's a requirement of the Open Meetings Act. So that includes conversations that you have with people, deliberations that you may have with people, outside of the public meeting, or not really. Everything this board does needs to be in the public eye, and you act as a board. Now, it's very natural for you to be approached by members of the public or industry members or other interested parties, but if they are an individual or an entity that could have a matter before you, something that you regulate, jurisdiction, it's important to remind them that you are an individual and that the board acts only as a board, and invite them to come before the board and discuss their issue with the board or submit something in writing to the board. It's a good chance to remind the public that you read everything they send to you. The second thing you need to do, if you have a contact with an individual or an entity that could be subject to your regulatory jurisdiction, is to disclose that contact. It doesn't mean that there is a conflict, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it, but your fellow board members and the public need to know that you've had the contact. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thanks, Ms. Phelps.
Yeah, through the chair.
Sure,
Ms. Milk. For clarification, we've had this discussion once before, but I think it might be helpful for the board and the public to talk a bit about when it's appropriate for a member of the public to approach someone more what might become a potential rigs project or an issue, say in the case of Mr. Miller and I, something that is affecting the industry or could affect the industry or how commerce is conducted. when that would be an appropriate discussion and when it might not.
That's a very good point. Let me address regulation first. Once you accept for posting to the public in the public notice, 30-day or more public notice period, a proposed regulation, that is when you need to be especially careful not to engage in any discussions with anyone about those regulations. And that's because at that time, the regulation becomes something that everybody has equal access to. So if you are engaging in conversations with people about those regulations while it's out for public comment, certainly the public could see that as somebody trying to get a back door into your decision on the regulation. So that is a time when we're really, really careful not to have those conversations. Naturally, marijuana is in the news every day, and should be. And naturally, people are going to see you as a public face of the marijuana board and people in the know, and they're naturally going to approach you and want to have these discussions. Generalized discussions are fine. The law expects that you will bring to the board, particularly industry members. Each of you has a specific seat on the board, and the law expects that you come to those seats with the experience of that category. So you, for example, Mr. Emmett, come from the industry perspective. You're expected to bring that industry perspective and industry experience to the board. So naturally, you're going to be having conversations with other industry members. That's perfectly fine. But if it's somebody who's going to come before you, or is coming before you for a license decision, put that conversation off for the public forum. You certainly can engage in conversations with people generally. You can absolutely tell people and discuss anything that you've already put on the public record. It's a good chance, too, to remind them, you can get the minutes of all these meetings, and you could... I don't expect any of you to remember everything that's done at the meeting. Refer people to the public record. It looks like the director wants to add something.
Well, I do. Thank you, Ms. Milks. Adding on to what she has to say, there is an email address to speak directly to the board. So if people, industry members, or just regular other members of the public wish to alert the board of an issue, something that they believe needs regulatory attention, proposals for a new project, it can write to marijuana@alaska.gov and it will get to all board members. So there's a way to alert all board members at the same time of, here's something that we see as a problem and we think needs attention.
So just to put a cap on that, it's really important, and the board has taken this to heart, to have the public perceive this process to be exactly what it is, and that it's a public process. So if you're out to lunch or you're out to dinner with fellow board members, don't be discussing board business. We don't want anyone to get the idea that there's a back door or some secret negotiations going on. That absolutely doesn't happen. But we want everybody to have confidence in the public process. Did I answer your question?
Very plainly. Thank you, Ms. Milks.
Thank you very much. Any other questions for Ms. Milks? All right. The next item on the agenda is an executive session regarding licenses 10006 and 10012. Pros and cons appeal of license revocations. Hearings, case number 7307 and C 0125 MCB. Motion to go into executive session.
Some motion.
Motion by Mr. Evans, second. Second by Mr. Miller, and who do we want in there? Or are we delivering ourselves right now? Judge. Oh, there's a judge. Oh, okay. Well, there's a judge.
Wearing a bright pink sweater, so you want to make sure to see her. Yes.
Okay, Judge, come on up, and we will let everybody else out of the room, and we'll talk with you. Yes, ma'am. All right, great, thank you.
The chairperson has disconnected. The conference will now end.
out of executive session.
Are 14 participants in the conference.
We heard the details and have read the details of this agreement that would reduce the civil fine that was imposed by the board from $500,000 to $100,000. I'll just read this real quick. It's hereby ordered that proposed frozen buds license number 1006 and 10012 are permanently revoked. Frozen buds Destiny S. Need and Nicholas J. Need are permanently disqualified from holding any license under AS 1738. Marijuana handlers permits held by Destiny S. Need and Nicholas J. Need are permanently revoked. All inventory containing marijuana or marijuana products is defined by AS 1738-900 on the date of seizure, which was seized from the respondent's licensed premises, will be destroyed as soon as practicable after the board adopts this agreement. A civil fine is assessed against respondents in the amount of $100,000. The fine shall be paid to the board as follows. Each individual respondent shall pay $5,000 by the close of business on December 8, 2018. Each individual respondent shall pay $45,000 within 120 months of the date the board adopts this agreement. Each individual respondent shall pay the board $100 per month on or before the first day of each month, beginning with the first calendar month after the board adopts this agreement, until each individual respondent has paid $45,000 in full. Payments not received in the AMCO office by the close of business on the 10th day of each month of the next business day will be an event of default and will constitute grounds for commencement of proceedings to collect any remaining balance owed, including either or both of a non-judicial foreclosure or a deed of trust or a lawsuit on the promissory note, both of which are described in paragraph 5E below. It includes the promissory note on some property in Fairbanks. So do we have a motion from the board with regard to this order?
And motion to adopt.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. And let's have just some quick discussion for the record. Everybody knows the case involved some pretty serious violations of our regulations. The board obviously felt very strongly about those in that we had proposed, imposed a fine of $500,000 and a 1-year special licenses and barring them from licensure for 1 year. It went through an appeal process and mediation, and I'm looking to the judge for a nod to make sure I'm getting this right. And this is the result of that, and I think as a board member that this result of the mediation is appropriate and correct. Any other board members care to make a comment?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would agree. I think what's imperative here is that the public is protected from bad actors. The fact that they are permanently barred, to me, is actually more digestible than a dollar amount on the fine. I think $100,000 is still very stiff. These guys live in my town. They're definitely out of business. They're selling everything they have. It's not like they're sitting back and laughing at this decision. So I think it's very appropriate.
Any other comments? All right. We'll do a roll call vote on the adoption of this order. Mr. Jones? Yes. Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Emmett?
Yes.
And I am a yes. So this order is adopted. And I will sign it, and we will get right into public testimony. We have a list there? Thank you, Judge.
Mr. Chair, I think I have a list. Hang on just a second. And I apologize. It's been a challenge to prep for this. All right. Mr. Hinterberger is first on the list.
Hey, Mr. Hinterberger, are you on the phone? Tim Hinterberger?
The conference is no longer in listen-only mode.
Mr. Hinterberger, you with us? We'll sign up.
Next on the list is Brian Coyle. Mr. Coyle?
Brian Coyle, are you on the line?
We are about 15 minutes ahead
Yeah,
of schedule, so we'll have
that's
to
true.
circle back to later. Mr. Kerrigan is next. I
Kerrigan.
saw him here today.
There. You know what? Let's take a quick 5 minutes. Give to catch up. We are zipping along. I don't mind staying ahead of the game. Unless you got somebody in the room. A room that wants to testify, raise your hand. Okay, why don't we do this? Let's just follow along. Let's go in the order of, if you know the people in the room, the order that you've got them on the list there.
We have only one other individual on the list besides the three I've already mentioned, Mr. Michael, Robert Michael.
Okay, sure, come on up. Introduce yourself.
The conference is now in listen-only mode.
I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to share my thoughts about the state of the industry. But first, I really want to thank you for your service here on the board. Even you, Mr. Jones. We often disagree with one another, but I respect you and your opinions, and the opinions of the folks that you bring to the table that help make us all aware of. You know, many of my colleagues in the industry complained at length about the time it took to get the regs out after the 2014 vote legalizing marijuana. Well, I have decades of experience with governments, mostly our U.S. federal government, and I thought you all did fine. You know, you were thorough, cautious, and in fact, as the fourth state to legalize recreational marijuana against the laws of the federal government, you were pioneers. You were bloody awesome. You balanced the will of the people with the reality of the consequences under the guidance of the Cole Memo. And all of that brings us where we are today. Marijuana is on a roll. The train has left the station, the number of recreational states has doubled, and the number of U.S. citizens in those states is nearly half the population of the entire country. The number of states that recognize the legitimate value of medical marijuana is 29 plus D.C., and that number seems to be growing with every election. The U.S. government, in fact, has a patent on medical marijuana. That number, if you're interested, is 6630507. There are over 30 pharmaceutical corporations with patents on over 100 derivatives of the tetrahydrocannabinol and cannabinoid molecule for medical applications. Federal legalization is not if, but when. And you all know that, right? So, if you realistically look and analyze what that means, it's when the large corporate interests have their ducks in a row and they can come in and squash and dominate Alaska's marijuana industry, killing our mom and pops, buying out any local volume competitors, and killing thousands of Alaskan jobs and their supporting industries. Certainly taking a hit, the garden centers, the laborers, and professional engineers. And where I'm going with all this is all of that's on your shoulders. Let me share with you our two greatest concerns in the industry that I know as a grower and that I talk to other growers about. One is overregulation, including the added expense from regulation, and the unregulated black market. We have a difficult enough time meeting expenses of regulations, cameras, extra storage, metric, time-consuming, nearly punitive busy work to prevent us from doing something that most of us wouldn't do because it would hurt our business anyways. We need the board to be our advocates, not just our overseers. We need your help addressing the out-of-state black markets, smuggling thousands of pounds per month of unregulated, untaxed, industry-crippling weed into our state. They are making a mockery of the honest players.
And we need to be treated as the honest, decent business people that we are. We're taxpayers, for goodness sakes. We're no different than fine bourbon or Scotch distilleries or master wine decanters throughout the country or throughout the world, for that matter. Alaska can have a strong grassroots marijuana industry, but only if you let it and help it along. So thank you very much for your time. And I hope.
All right, thanks, Michael. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
Okay, so Mr. Hindenburger, did you see? Is that him? He's the road. Okay. Well, you're next, Mr. Coyle. Hopefully you'll be as nice as the last testifier.
I'll get you an electronic copy as well. So again, it's all about taxes.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Brian Coyle, CEO of TPL Alaska.
Thanks.
I'm not here to talk about taxes, I'm here to talk about testing. And using the audit report as a springboard, I think you got a serious situation here that deserves some focused attention. And I have some comments here. I'll try and keep within the time limits, and then I've also assembled or extracted what I think are some important points from that report. I don't know if any of you read it. I've read it about a dozen times. It's kind of all over the place as far as information, but there's some nuggets in there. Anyway, so 6 months ago I came before you guys, reported on dozens of duplicate samples that were tested by both labs, and we found significant differences in test results. Average difference was 37%. I encourage you to look back at that. It was November, 6 months ago, right? This triggered the audit, led to the formation of the testing working group. So now here we are 6 months later, and what's the status? The audit's complete, but they were not able to determine which lab results were more representative of the true potency. One of their conclusions of the report. Neither were they able to resolve the issue of aspergillus niger identified by C-Pill and not by the other lab. Testing working group is making their first recommendations to the board today, and their recommendations are a good start, but they're not going to do anything to resolve that question. They're mostly concerned with reporting and some other issues that have been around for a while. So, I mean, I think it should be abundantly clear that the state of Alaska is currently unable to effectively regulate the cannabis testing lab. What are you going to do next? You know the situation poses a health hazard to consumers, and so it should be fixed as soon as possible. Best way to verify these potency results from testing labs is for the state to set up their own lab to analyze samples. So that's what I'm proposing to you all. If this state cannabis testing lab could be created, use existing facilities and personnel, and be funded by the marijuana taxes. Washington State has implemented a similar solution. I think their budget was a little over $1 million, but that includes $700,000 worth of capital equipment, which is already present in this state. So I mean, you could fund it probably with half a month's tax revenue. Anyway, so if the state expects to regulate the more complex tests that are coming, that we're already talking about in the working group, it's going to be pesticides, metals, additional residual solvents, and contaminants. You got to get on top of this situation right now. So I strongly encourage AMCO and the Marijuana Control Board to make it a priority to seek alternate funding for such a lab. It's a matter of protecting consumer health and safety, as well as confidence in the industry as a truly regulated industry. And then I'd also like to ask that we could set aside some time during these 3 days, maybe towards the end, or whenever it's convenient for you guys, to talk about the audit report, because there's a lot of technical stuff in there. There's a lot of opinions mixed in with facts, and there are a couple of errors that I'll point out. But I think that would be valuable for all of you, and I'd make myself available for that.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Coyle. Any questions?
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, so you did bring up a handful of issues in here. You know, I read that report a lot of times. As you know, I'm the chair. We work together on that committee.
Yeah.
And we definitely plan on exploring some of those issues as to that. Okay, we saw that there was an issue with X, Y, and Z, but we don't actually have a recommendation. I think that's really what we got to get to the bottom to, is how we're going to be conducting this. Again, this is farther down on the agenda. I don't want to get too far into it, but rest assured, I've definitely read the report a few times, and we're going to try to get it fixed.
And that would also be a forum very appropriate to discuss it. All right.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
So you said Mr. Hindenburg is on the road somewhere?
Yeah, he's traveling back from D.C.
Okay, so
He's going to try and call in.
Okay, we'll see if he's out there. Okay.
The conference is no longer in listen-only mode.
On phone, by any chance? Testimony. Okay, no sign of him.
This is,
Go ahead. That Mr. Henry?
yeah, this is, no, this is not.
Okay, all right. Okay, good. Mute the phone then. Okay, Mr. Gary.
The conference is now in listen-only mode.
Good morning, and thank you to the board for allowing for public testimony this morning. The thing that I really have found...
Go ahead and identify yourself.
I'm sorry, Kerry Kerrigan, Executive Director of the Alaska Marijuana Industry Association. Is that counting against my time? Okay. I wanted to make mention of the fact that I've had numerous discussions with both people who are members of the association and people who are not. And there's been a real concern about the speed with which the MCO office responds to issues which are brought forth, both email issues and things which deal with enforcement and requests for guidance. And I think that part of the problem that is happening and the perception that's being put forward is that there's not a responsiveness to what goes on, and that when people ask for guidance, for example, and I'm sure that the metric will address this, there was a new weight tab out on the metric, but there was no guidance allowable for it. Is it something which is going to be the metric going to become the standard, or is there guidance from the state how you deal with that, or what happens in that regard? And so there are a lot of these problems that I think get dealt with, and I know the public perception is this, that get dealt with from the standpoint of, gosh, how do I do this, how do I work in the regulations, and then they request information for it, but the response time is so slow, and it becomes such a ponderous process that before you even get an answer back on the questions you have against the regulations, enforcement showed up and issued you a notice of violation. And so it almost has become a cycle of where there's not an attentiveness and responsiveness to the requests from the people that are being helped, I guess is the word I want to use, by AMCO, and that those people are then punished by not being able to receive the guidance they need by enforcement. And it just seems to me it's kind of backwards in this regard. I know that there are people who have asked, people in the room I talked to this morning, I was getting coffee and I brought this up. And it was a matter of people have already have said, I have one specific question I put forward to enforcement and I get no reply to it. I know that the time that's involved is, there's a lot of time involved not only for people on the AMCO side, but there's also a lot of time which relates to money in the terms of hundreds of thousands of dollars that are cost in just waiting to find out what you can do, how you can move forward, what process you can take and use. I know that I have a set amount of time here. I also want to make mention of the fact that I think that I would hope that in addition to just written responses, you would set aside a little bit of time for people on the phones to be able to address their metric questions, possibly, if that's allowable this morning, because I know that there are a lot of people with a lot of questions, and not everybody can come to this. So to ask for written requests, I think, is a good process to have, to make sure you control it. I think that a lot of people who can't come here, since this is a statewide board, can't and need to have an opportunity either to submit their questions in writing ahead of time and know that that's going to be the process, or at least have an opportunity to speak speak to the questions on metric. But that's really my main thing that I'm concerned about. I mean, I like the fact that the testing process and the committee that's been running that seems to have stepped, forward and moved in a rather quickly to address this and start the process moving on that. And I think that there are other issues that are as pressing as that need to be addressed with enforcement and with the responsiveness of the AMCO board. And that's all I really wanted to say this morning. Any questions, I guess?
I can't necessarily think of any questions. Your contention is costing people hundreds of thousands of dollars because they're not getting a quick answer from staff on something. I hope that's a
cumulative total.
All right, okay. So we're not saying that Mr. Redmond's losing $100,000. He can't get a call.
As an association group, it's costing them a lot of money.
Sure. There may be a way to do that. I guess the first one is to, the regulatory questions. If there's a lack of clarity in some of the regulations, let us know because we write down on things. That's a marijuana mailbox question. Give us the dickens over it. Say, okay, this is something that we've been trying to find out about. And maybe by the time we get it, you'll have got the answer you're looking for. But I just want to remind everybody that some meetings people come in and say, gee, you guys are so slow getting licenses out. And now you're so slow getting us technical answers to regulatory questions. And I'm not grousing at you, Gary. I'm just saying that the staff remains highly busy. According to the paper, now we're a $100 million industry. So, if there's cumulative questions, or maybe they could go through the association. Maybe you could come in every couple of weeks, try to set up a meeting and say, okay, I'm the industry association, I'm representing everybody, I've got 5 very common questions that we'd like to see if we can't get whacked. Instead of everybody checking their voicemail, saying, oh man, I got 3 licensees calling the same question. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there ought to be a way to have some liaison, some focused liaison between, and it would seem like that would be the association function.
I agree.
So anyway, okay, great.
I'd also like to say that for the listening audience that I glanced over at the executive director and she nodded at me. And so, we'll discuss that.
And for the listening audience, if any of you know Carrie's cell phone number, if you get questions from that, go ahead and text him. I will also be asking them for some commitment to make some information available. I know licensees know how to get a hold of you, but if we can just make the process with people shouldn't be calling the board, shouldn't be calling the office with metric questions. Metric is the vendor. I mean, she's shaking her head.
Well, it really depends. There are occasional times when it actually isn't a metric question, it's really a policy question, and it doesn't And Minister, if I could just state, I think your idea of maybe setting maybe a monthly meeting with Carrie to sort of compile issues is a great one. And I would also like to say that I very much struggle with getting timely responses back to applicants based on my workload, the hundreds of emails I get every day, and it's something that I am trying to correct in my own work priorities. So I apologize to those licensees that haven't been able to get back to you promptly, and please know that I am working on it.
And through the chair, Mr. Kerrigan, so your point is well taken. This board has asked for additional funding. We have thus not received it, but it's definitely, I think having a more well-funded department would help. I know the staff does work very hard. They're overloaded. That's not an excuse, but it's definitely an issue that we are aware of.
Yeah, and I would like to state also that it's not a matter of me questioning the work ethic of the board or the staff of the board. I think that there's just so much going on with we're still in a learning curve and a process where we're trying to get everything up on step. And so I just think that, to make sure that that's brought up, that needs to be attended to, and that more staff is probably still required, and more funding is still required, and that hasn't been addressed yet, and that's of concern to the association.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kerrigan.
Thank you very much.
Let me remind everybody on the phone and here in the room that the purpose of public testimony is to hear items that are not on the agenda. So license applications, anything that's on the agenda, regulations, please don't be addressing that. Let me ask the audience on the phone. I heard a couple of people trying to jump in. Right now we'll take a couple of folks out in the telephone land. Anybody who would like to testify?
The conference is no longer in listen-only mode.
Yeah, this is Kirby Coleman here.
Okay, Kirby, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you guys for hearing us out today, and look forward to seeing how the meeting progresses. I've got a couple of things I'd like to bring up to the board, as well as the MCO staffing. I think that license transfers should take place and be bumped to the top of the line, not go to the bottom of the line as far as right now. If you put in for license transfer, it goes to the bottom of the line under new licenses. So I think that those should be dealt with in a manner that is quicker than dealing with the whole new licenses. These are licenses that are established and are current, and if a business needs to be made or transfer of licenses, they shouldn't have to wait that whole time period of 6 months, seeing as how it is already an active license. So I express my concern there, and also would like to just invite you guys to go back all the way to the Section 17 of the code written in the statutes. Talks about the in Section 17.38.080. Goes under the Marijuana Control Board, or I'm sorry, the 17.38.090 rulemaking. Section A states, no later than 9 months after the effective date of this act, the board shall adopt regulations necessary for implementation of this chapter. Okay. Now, if you go back a couple sections, and you read over lawful operation of marijuana-related facilities, there are in every section A of each kind of establishment, it says, notwithstanding any provision of law. So that means regardless of any other provision of law, that these are lawful and are operating. So there's a couple issues that I know one of them is on a regulation project about the marijuana seed. So under section, let's see here, it is 17.38.070, says lawful operation of marijuana-related facilities. And you go down to section B, title 6. It says receiving marijuana seeds or immature marijuana plants from a person who's 21 years of age or older. Also, you go down to, let's see here. Section 17.38.070, Section A, line 1, possessing, displaying, storing, transporting marijuana products, except marijuana products may not be displayed. And then number 2, it said delivering or transferring marijuana or marijuana products to marijuana testing facility, receiving marijuana or marijuana products from, hold on here. Delivering, so section 6, that's where I'm trying to get to. Delivering, distributing, or selling marijuana or marijuana products to consumers. So it's my understanding that regulations do not supersede state statutes. And that's kind of where the regulations have been written upon. I feel like the regulations are overstepping state statutes that have given us these provisions to, notwithstanding any other provision of law, which would be the regulations, is overstepping the bounds of the statute. So I would just invite the attorney and everyone to just take a look at that and see that the regulations do supersede the state statutes, which should not be the case. This should go the other way around. I know that there's been expressed concern on this matter, and I would just invite the Marijuana Control Board as well as all the staff to actually take a look at that and consider how the regulations are written. They're overstepping our statutes. that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time. Like I said, appreciate all you guys volunteering on the board and hearing us out.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Coleman.
Thanks, Kirby.
Anybody else out there in Radio Land care to join us? Okay, not hearing anybody. Go ahead and mute the phone.
The conference is now in listen-only mode.
And so.
Thank you, Jana Waldstein, for the record. I'm just going to reiterate a couple points that I've made before. It'd be really helpful, I think, for a lot of the industry members if we could post the recordings of the MCB meetings online. The meeting minutes have gotten extraordinarily better in the last, 9 months. They're way more detailed, but I still think it would help people understand the intent and guidance that the board gives if we could just post the recordings. Then I wanted to kind of touch on what Harriet was talking about earlier, which is, access to the public participation for this board in these meetings. Up until last night, I believe, or maybe midday, my public comment that was submitted for some of these regulation projects wasn't included in the tabs. And I don't know what happened there. I don't know if it's a case of, completing the tabs too early before the time period ended, but it's not a good look for this board or this office because it makes it, because this isn't the first time this has happened specifically to me where my regulation comments haven't been provided in the tabs. And I don't think anybody's trying to do it on purpose. I think it's kind of a, maybe just a system issue for the office, but it's really important that if you want us to access the board through the proper channels, allow the proper channels to work or ensure that they work. The other thing that, and Erica fixed this as soon as I pointed it out yesterday, is you had the wrong access codes to call in on the calls for the ABC meeting. Yesterday on the agenda it was correct, but on the actual website it was wrong. Same thing for this control board meeting. As soon as I, let Erica know, she immediately fixed it. But those kinds of little things, it can be taken in a way that is negative, against public participation. Having a good phone system too, which we don't have, and I know the monetary constraints, but I mean, we have raised a ton of money with licensing fees and taxes. You would think a decent system to allow for state participation could be afforded by now. So I just want to talk about that and put that on the record. Also, I wanted to talk about transfers, actually, something that Kirby brought up. These transfers are going behind all the new applications. So a new application can take 8 months to review. And so that means if somebody's changing in ownership, they make a change, and then that new ownership scheme can't even take place, can't participate. The liabilities it's a legal mess if we leave it for over half of a year kind of in this purgatory limbo status. And I really don't understand why the transfers aren't being handled like MJ-15s, MJ-14s, MJ-16s, and being in a different review queue. It doesn't have to go to the top of the pile, just in a different review queue. Completely different. It's more of a work smarter, not harder kind of, methodologies. Existing licenses are over here, new licenses are over here. And I provided a public comment about that in your marijuana mailbox. The rest of my comments did not make it to the marijuana mailbox. But I've been told that they're releasing your board packets for the regulations. I also wanted to note that I've received, several positive comments since the last NOMS meeting about Chief Bolster and being more responsive and being more helpful. I keep setting a really good example, and that's something that has happened since the last board meeting. And I've had several clients contact me and say, hey, Chief got back to me right away, call him on a cell, he got the answer. So I understand that there's delay in responses, but I do think there is an effort to get better at it. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Jen. Any questions? All right. Anybody else? Sure. Lady in blue. And we're getting up close to the end, so maybe it'll be the last commenter here.
Get the mic on. For the record, my name is Emily Nina, and I'm the Alaska Government Relations Director for the Cancer Society Cancer Action Network.
What was your last name, Emily?
Menon, Menon.
Menon. Thank you.
Yes. Alaska Government Relations Director, American Cancer Action Network. I will echo some of the previous comments in thanking the board and the staff for managing the tremendous workload that you have, being on the periphery of this process. I've seen some of the improvement and recognize also that you could use more support, appreciate having microphones, for instance, as an improvement over the board's process. I'm here today just to give you a quick update on what happened with Senate Bill 63, the statewide smoke-free workplaces bill. I was the lead agency staff working on that over a number of years, and I just wanted to update the board on where that came out. There was active legislation over 5 years, so 3 different legislative cycles, 3 different legislatures looked at this bill. In the 2015-2016 cycle, so after the ballot measure had passed, there was an amendment that was put into the bill that stayed in through the end of the process, which simply says that if the Marijuana Control Board, you guys allow for any kind of on-site consumption, that smoking would have to be in a standalone building, freestanding building. So that's what the only place. This bill is about smoking, not about on-site consumption. So I just wanted to update you all on that piece. There was that amendment was put in the 2015-16 cycle and stayed in through the process. There was an attempt at the very end of the process in the House Rules Committee to remove marijuana from the definition of smoking. That was overturned on the House floor by a wide margin. There was also a further amendment attempt to broaden the exemption for smoking in marijuana establishments to take the freestanding building part away. That was defeated. So it stands the same language that has been in the bill and has been through that legislative review process for a number of years now, in recognition that ventilation can't protect non-users from the immediate health harms of secondhand smoke. And with that, I just wanted to give you guys an update on what happened with the bill that is now passed, and I'd be happy to be a resource on this issue to the board if there's any questions.
Questions? All right. Well, thank you for your testimony. Thank you for your work on that piece of legislation.
Thank you.
All right. I got 9:58. So can you do it in 2 minutes? Okay.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Sarah Hinkle. I'm a freelance economist for the state. I'm currently doing research on Alaska's cannabis supply chain, and I'm coming up with a major barrier in the metric system. They've been contracted. Frainwell is the owner of the company that runs the software, metric. I'm sure you know. They own all of the data for the supply chain for the entire state. So without access to that information, any annual analysis is impossible. On their website, they specify in their mission that they plan to gather the data and analyze it in real time. And so if that's something that they're doing, I would be interested to know who's benefiting from that analysis and if it's at all possible to be made available to the public.
Sarah, nice to see you again, and thank you for your work. Sarah speaks on something that this board has touched on, and actually Mr. Chair had requested that people with an economic background address these issues. And I think she brings a fair point that if we want to analyze data and do work from it, that we need to be able to have a system to grant access to said data.
And I think that would be a brief question for Metro. Okay, thanks very much. Okay, we're going to close public testimony, and I am not going to presume that anybody here wearing a necktie works for the Department of Revenue. But if there's anybody here wearing a necktie that works for the Department of Revenue, please come up and join us. You don't have, yeah, absolutely. You need more chairs? Sure, please come up. You guys have got, gee whiz, all the time you want.
And people that are not wearing neckties are more than welcome. I didn't put one on today.
You all got badges, so close it up.
Yeah.
Great. So this is going to be a discussion about taxation supplies. Please introduce yourselves, and you have the floor.
Working, there we go. Hi. My name is Ken Alper. I'm the Director of the Tax Division for the Department of Revenue. I'm joined by Brandon Spanos, Deputy Director, and Kelly Nzay, the head of our excise tax group. I believe the marijuana taxpayers would be most familiar with Ms. Nzay, who oversees our excise tax group, which includes marijuana tax. As you all know, we have a tax per the voter initiative, the $50 per ounce, the wholesale level. That initiative gave us fairly limited rights to come up with different tax rates on different parts of the plant. And there's no other specific authority based on that. We had a regulation project in the early months of legalization before the first retail sales, creating a $15 tax on other than butter or flour, generally known in the industry as trim, but if people were selling leaves and stems, they would also theoretically be sold taxed at that $15 per ounce rate. I know that you've invited us here because this is my idea as board, and members of the industry have about changing that taxation, and we're prepared to take questions in that direction. I can tell you a couple of things that we are working on and have worked on that may color that conversation. First is a regulations project that would create a third tax rate that would related to what we're calling immature flour, a product that's less valuable and can't be sold at the bud rate, but is genetically perhaps bud and therefore can't be taxed at the trim rate. We're trying to find a mechanism to not have to tax that at the $800 per pound, $50 per ounce rate, and that should be out. Although our definition may be imperfect, that's what the public review process is for. We'll be having hearings on that, and hopefully members of the industry will help us clean that up. You may recall, Mr. Chair, the original reg project included the term sugar leaf that led to a lot of pushback, and we ended up pulling that out of the final language, for example, between the draft and final regulations. The other thing is we pursued during the first legislature that had legal marijuana, the 29th legislature. We did not do this in the last 2 years. There was some anxiety that any marijuana bill might be used as a vehicle potentially to criminalize the industry, so we did not want to touch marijuana, but in the 29th legislature we were pursuing changes to create this idea of secondary liability, that there's the problem potentially of black market sales. And right now the criminal system really is looking at black market sales. Marijuana is legal, it's not a priority. But if you see retail stores selling products that can't show its pedigree coming from a licensed grower, or we're hearing anecdotal stories of stuff being sold on the streets, stuff being brought in Washington State, and specifically in Southeast, we would like the ability, if the criminal justice system only needs to tax that product, seize it, and to be able to at least create certain disincentives to that going forward. Also, if a large grow is caught in illegal grow, we would like to charge a tax penalty on that in addition to any criminal penalties that may apply. So we hope to pursue legislation like that in 2019. Obviously, no guarantees on whether any of us will be here, but that's my personal hope.
Great. I think I would speak for thanking you for your judicious discretion not introducing legislation to bring the proposition to the floor on the floor. I got a quick thinking of Brian. So yeah, thank you for that. Appreciate that. And I like what you just said about using. I mean, how they catch you on the phone. Right? So I hope that maybe you or your appropriate staffers will have discussions with the director and with Chief Holscher about possible enforcement. That actually might be a little bit of a carrot for DPS to go after, black market operations a little bit more. So I like hearing that. Are there any questions right off for Director Alper?
Yes, the Chair, Director Alper. Thanks for attending today. Thanks for your hard work on this. Definitely fully supportive of a third tax bracket. That's something that the industry is really struggling with, being caught between an $800 flour tax and the $240 trim tax, but there's a chance that flour could actually be considered trim if it doesn't hold its retail value. The LA&S clause are actually using the 280E for what it was intended for, instead of against legal marijuana businesses. That's something that I personally would support. I think that this board could do the same. One question I had for you is, you were quoted saying that the $800 flat excise tax encourages competition. Have you evolved on that position at all?
Thank you for asking. So, I think what I said was the $800 flat rate tax encourages quality. In other words, let's look at our alcoholic beverage distilled spirits tax, which is a similar volumetric-based tax, $12.80 per gallon. Whether you're selling Johnny Walker Blue or R&R, it's the same $12.80. So the higher the quality of what you sell, the lower the effective tax rate. So what I was trying to say in that statement was that because the effective tax rate goes down the more your product is worth, it encourages the growers to grow and sell the highest quality, highest value possible products, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification. And the reason why I asked is you actually touched on this a bit with wanting the ability to tax these illegal grows or if the illegal shippers. That's one of the biggest problems here in the state. It's not actually the people growing in state, it's the people who are shipping marijuana that's $1,000 a pound from California, or which is even more extreme, shipping concentrate that's only $3,000 a pound. The legal market really has a difficult time competing with that. And if we had a tax structure that incentivized Alaskans to be able to sell their marijuana for whatever the market dictated that was worth, that could really help us in getting rid of these black market shippers. Because as you know, if there's a flat tax of $800 a pound and it costs you more than $200 a pound to produce and turn a profit for your business, you just can't compete with $1,000 a pound. And so that's something that I would encourage you guys to explore as you come forward with the language to this next legislation.
And Mr. Chairman, it's important. We need legislation to go much beyond what we've already done. Even this third tier we're working on, what we're butting up against is the limited authority based on parts of the plant. A bad bud is still a bud. So we're a bud that's gone to seed, an immature bud. Like we hope to be able to get through language that can create this third tier to meet the intent of the industry. I'm a little bit anxious ultimately on what that syntax is going to look like and if it's going to be acceptable, if it should be challenged in the court someday.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Jones?
Thanks, Ken. In terms of illegal sales in retail stores and stuff like that, how do you handle like the mail order tobacco sales, and how do you handle the vape pens and those kinds of things for tobacco tax? I mean, I realize that legitimate markets, you go into a car store, you buy a pack of cigarettes, got a tax stamp on it, but there's all kinds of internet sales. And so how does that experience help you or hinder you in terms of finding and taxing the black market?
So the state of Alaska's excise taxes on tobacco extend to tobacco products, loose rolling tobacco, cigars, snuff, that sort of thing. Currently, electronic juice, for whatever reason, is not excluded. It's more of a definitional loophole. That's another thing we hope to fix, unrelated to this industry. As far as the taxation of internet cigarette sales, I'm going to defer to Mr. Sanos. This is something that we do in concert with federal agencies. it's sort of a side project of ongoing chasing after people avoiding bigger taxation.
Thank you again for the record, Brandon Spanos, Deputy Director with Tax Division. And we do pursue pretty intensely any internet sales of tobacco. They are very difficult to identify. Most of the internet sellers nowadays are out of the country, and so to get their records is fairly difficult. But those that do happen within the states where they are prosecuted, where the courts do order those records to be given to the states, we do go after. And then mainly where they're the oh goodness, what's that? Anyway, there's a multi-state agreement with that the tobacco industry entered into with the state that we're bound by, that we must diligently enforce among internet sales, personal consumption, and we do about that. It's sometimes hard to do because there's low income individuals buying cigarettes online. It's difficult to say you got to go back 10 years. In some cases, you got to pay 10 years worth of taxes on cigarettes you can buy online. But we do that.
I was more interested in how that might help you in terms of experience dealing with the stuff shipped in Washington to Southeast or...
So that part probably doesn't relate. Again, there would have to be a court case somewhere where somebody is forced to give us the records. And those are all, in general, they're operating legal businesses in their states. And so they don't have an illegal operation. The illegal part is actually shipping into a state where you have to pay the tax. That's the illegal piece. And that's why the courts generally order them. So for an illegal business shipping product across state lines, it would be difficult for us to track. We wouldn't have the experience we do have would be with federal government where at customs they do find like a bunch of cartons of cigarettes. They will notify us so that we do receive that information. I'm sure we could work with customs if they were to find illegal product coming in the state. They would notify us. However, there would be anyone to tax at that point for the state. There would be an outside, so a non-Alaskan business or person shipping product in the state that the feds would then go after. Our concern would be when in the hands of a person within the state. And if we find it in the hands of the person, we would tax it. And that would be mainly through our criminal enforcement arm. So there is a part of the Department of Revenue, it's our criminal investigation unit, and they, for in the tobacco world, they'll go out and search Craigslist. They'll try to make purchases of tobacco. If not stamped, then we see that we tax the individual. There could be a criminal prosecution as well. And so for the marijuana world, if we had an enforcement ability to go after black market product and tax it, we would do similar things. We would set up buys and we've heard recently that there's folks in Southeast selling it from cabs. Go and rent a cab and take a trip and ask for some product, and then we would seize all the product and tax it and penalize, etc.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. So the board has been discussing concerns that some board members have about a flat tax and work. There was a resolution that the board considered at the last meeting, and considering whether the board wants to ask the legislature to make some revision to what the tax is, how the tax is collected. I think we're the only state that has a flat tax. I think pretty much every other state taxes in a percentage on a percentage basis. I was at a conference recently, and an idea was floated by actually one of the authors of this book, and I'll touch on that later, but it was based on THC content, so basically a tax on potency. And this seemed a very interesting idea, partially because it would also sort of counteract this sort of desire to inflate potency. And so I'm kind of dropping this as like nobody's heard about this, nobody's doing this, but just wondering if anyone, board members or our friends from the Department of Revenue have any initial thoughts on that concept.
Through the chair director, I haven't actually explored the potency tax, but I think that anything is probably better than we have now, and a system that allows the industry to flourish. Our job here as a government is to enact the will of the people. People said marijuana is going to be legal. It's going to be legitimate good that we buy and sell in the state, and so we need to find a way to make whatever we tax that product at realistic, to where there is less incentive for the black market, whether we use a percentage of retail sales tax, as I propose, whether we use a percentage of potency tax, whether we amend the excise tax at the request of some economists to something that is going to be able to meet Alaska's demand and make it no longer profitable for these black market actors continue to ship into our state, because as it is in this sense, they're very difficult to catch.
Sure. I guess, my comment is I think we have instituted a little people because $50 per ounce was in the legislation that was put out to the public. And part of the promotional campaign was, look at all the money we're going to raise for the state of Alaska. And to now come back in and say it's killing the industry, change it because we're poor advocates for the industry, I think is trying to have both sides of the argument at the same time. I mean, I've never seen any industry that feels that they're undertaxed. Every industry says they're overtaxed. And I don't want to get in a situation in this particular industry, and I don't equate it to oil. But, right now, the tax division is probably fighting with the oil companies over taxes that should have been collected 5 years ago. So we don't want to get a system in which the audit trail is so long that, we're arguing with the industry about taxes they should have paid 2 years ago because it's too complicated to figure out. The potency tax bothers me a lot, based on the audit report we have here, in that our testing labs can't agree on the potency. So, without sort of agreeing with Mr. Coyle, unless we had a single lab and we always did that potency test, and we said that was right, the tax division would, be in court arguing over potency levels forever, trying to figure out taxes. So if the tax division had some other way in which it was relatively easy for the industry and relatively easy for the tax division to collect taxes, the $50 an ounce is probably the easiest. If we get into potency or percentage or quality taxes, those kinds of things, then I think for the tax division, their way of verifying all of that, trying to compute all that, and then getting into dispute with the growers or retailers or the industry about how it's taxed gets more complicated. So I think we need to be careful about how we do that or what we might recommend. But at the same time, you have to remember that the tax was part of the initiative. It was part of the public relations campaign. It was part of the sell to the public to get the public vote for the initiative. And for the industry now to come in and say, hey, this is terrible, we have to change it because we're killing the industry. I think trying to get both sides. So anyway, that's my personal opinion.
Chairman Jones. I'd like to make a clarification here on the record. So it's true that is what the campaign proposed. I myself was spokesperson for the campaign. And I can admit we got it wrong. That flat tax it was palatable to the voters, but it's not working. And my position on this is not one as the industry president. If we had a black market here that was on the ropes, and was almost stamped out because it could not compete with the iron law supply and demand, I wouldn't have this position. And I'm not saying the industry just needs less tax, they can't make money. A lot of working class people can't afford marijuana, but they're going to buy it somewhere, and it comes from the internet. And that's the clarification I'm trying to make. What was in the initiative? It worked to get it passed, but it doesn't work now, and we need something that works for the people and for the state, and we need those individuals sitting before us, this board, and the legislature to be all on the same page to do so.
Go right ahead.
We could make a couple of observations. First, I just want to go to Mr. McConnell said at first about a THC tax. Anything's implementable, anything's workable. My instinct is, how do we test, say, a large mixed bag of trim to figure out what the THC level is? That's the sort of thing we would need to work out. The initiative was called taxes to treat marijuana like alcohol. Alcohol, tobacco, most of our excise taxes, our sin taxes, so to speak, are at the wholesale level. They're paid by the wholesalers, the distributors. We're not really built for retail sales taxes at the tax division. Alaska doesn't have a sales tax. We could do it. We would find a way to implement it. It would probably cost a little bit more because there'd be more taxpayers. Right now we have 90 growers. There's more retail stores, or there will be more retail stores than that. But we would find a way. Alternatively, if we kept both a wholesale and a retail tax, that would be obviously even more cost because we would be doing more. You should be aware, as an industry, we will likely be looking for a budgetary increase simply because there's a lot of cost engaged with the physical handling of cash. We haven't really talked about that. We've just invested over $20,000 on a bigger, fancier cash counting machine, but it's still a labor-intensive process that until there's a federal change, that there's nothing we're going to be able to do about that. I think the issue of the tax rate being onerous isn't so much the tax rate. If you look at $50 an ounce, 28 grams an ounce, about $1.75 a gram, the retail price, I think, is still in the $17, $18 range. So there's really about a 10% state excise tax embedded in the retail cost of marijuana. I think Mr. Emmett's concern, rightly so, is we're having it early in the transaction cycle makes it harder to compete against the untaxed illegal product. But if that weren't an issue, where in the product cycle the tax occurred wouldn't be so much of an issue, because again, it's not a gigantic tax when you look ultimately at the retail value of what it is that's being sold. Even if the price were to drop to, let's say, $12 a gram, it'd be a 15% tax, something like that. But having it so early in the process makes it hard for someone to sell, especially the lower value product when it's competing, especially against the illegal untaxed product. I think that's what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah, that's exactly correct.
Okay, so my thought, and it's kind of been, is that taxation policy, whether it's the administration of the current tax structure or proposals to the legislature, is really the bailiwick of the Department of Revenue. It's not the board. There's nothing wrong with us through our process funneling, comments from the industry and our thoughts to the department, but maybe we shouldn't be saying, we'll pass a resolution to send the legislature, because we don't. The last people we want to get confused, not that they are usually confused, is the legislature. When they think about taxation, we want them to go to the Department of Revenue. When they talk about marijuana policy in general, we want them to talk to us. So I think from what we have heard, I think that the department, the Division of Taxation, director and staff have been very thoughtful in this process. They certainly have the professional wherewithal to consider all the nuances of the things we've been talking about here. And I really appreciate what you're doing there and how the process may evolve. And I would, really prefer that we kind of stay out of talking about the nuts and bolts of taxation, about how it appears, anecdotally, how it appears to be affecting the economy, the industry, but the industry, at least according to the papers, seem to be doing okay right now. And I hope at least, though, that this is more fun for you than oil taxes.
Well, Mr. Jones mentioned oil taxes. That's our highest profile thing we do. But even marijuana is what gets the second largest amount of questions and public interest. It's a fun new topic. It's curious. It's interesting. The cash aspect is fascinating to people. So we're happy to help provide information. We like working with you guys. Your industry are good people.
And I was going to ask you about the cash. Does it really stink as bad as everybody thought it was gonna? I mean, it does. Okay, so you got a separate air handling system in your cash room. Really? So maybe when we start talking turkey about on-site consumption, somebody from your department might want to just come down and say, yeah, we're not quite on-site consuming, but it sure smells like it, and this is how we're dealing with it.
If the tip jar is big, then it's probably going to smell.
Okay, and what, 80% of your tax payments are cash? Is that what I read?
We are averaging 76% to date.
Okay, and so you got these guys dressed in black with guns coming to the door, knocking, handing the satchel. Okay. How's the rest of them coming in, money orders?
It's mixed between, yes, money orders. There are some bank checks still coming in, and we have seen a few cashier checks.
Okay, great. Are there any more questions for folks?
One more. So when I was on a trip in D.C., I got to meet a bunch of the people from Washington, all the way from the retailer up through their executive director of their marijuana control board, and a couple of the enforcement people. They had some people from the tax division there. And there was also an individual there who was the president and CEO of a credit union called Solal Credit Union. And they have something worked out with the state of Washington to where I believe 97% of the tax payments go through Solal, and so they come to the government of checks or wire transfers or however you guys handle those transactions. So they've been able to get a pass, so to speak, to take at least the tax revenue into the Solal Credit Union and then pass that on to the government. They're not handling, I believe they only handle 2 or 3% of actual marijuana-related transactions outside of tax payments, but they've been able to get almost all of the actual tax put into a bank and then transferred to you guys to get some of the safety concerns, the additional cost of cash counters, washing the money, that sort of thing. So have you guys explored that? And if so, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is Brandon Spanos, and we've absolutely explored it. And the difference, and I've talked to several, I think 2 or 3 of the credit unions down in Washington. The difference is that the board of those credit unions are willing to bank the industry. And because they're willing to bank with the industry, they're collecting the cash from the taxpayers, and then they're able to send electronic payments or cashier's checks or whatever method to the tax division. We, as a tax division here in Alaska, are more than happy to work with any bank or credit union to accept any form of payment. The problem is to date, there's no bank or credit union that's willing to bank with the industry. And so if one were to step forward and say we'll bank with them, then I suspect that a lot of the industry would move that direction, and we would be able to accept most of our payments electronically or through some other form.
To add one thing about the cash business, because the only cash repository is here across the street in Anchorage, the folks off the road system, I live in Juneau, flying up on the airplane with bags of cash. That just doesn't strike me as an ideal way of running the industry. I'm sure those folks in particular would love to be able to have an alternative mechanism. We attempted to have a post office box, a mailing option, but we were shut down by the United States Postal Service. I believe you're all aware of that.
And I'll add that we've met with all the other states since California's come on board. They have a lot more staff than we do. I think their tax division is somewhere around 3,000 to 5,000 employees, and so they have a couple more than us. And some of them are dedicated just to the cash issue. They thought of things that we thought of, which were, even though the banks weren't willing to bank the industry, they were willing to bank with the state. And so initially we discussed meeting the taxpayers at our bank and allowing the taxpayer to simply deposit directly into our bank account. California was actually doing that. Our bank didn't want us to do that. In California they were for the first few months, and then the bank said, no more. We don't want the taxpayers actually coming in with the cash. The state has to take it first, process it, and then deposit it in the bank. And then the federal government is still talking about it, but they're not quite all on the same page. But the states are taking it up. We're meeting again this month with really the treasury divisions of the various states. Some of us that are kind of in between that are also attending. So hopefully we figure something out.
Thank you.
And I guess you stay pretty close to banking on this issue.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Great. Do you have anything else you'd like to add? Well, we appreciate your coming, and please consider yourselves given a standing invitation. Anytime you got anything to update us on or something you think we should hear about, please get hold of Eric or Sarah, and we'll spot on the agenda for you.
Thank you for the opportunity. If the board, if the industry wants a major change to the tax, and you've got some sort of consensus within the industry, we are not going to be the fly in the ointment. We're not going to stand in the way. We'll try to correct it. We'll honestly tell you what it's going to cost to implement it. It's going to be onerous, but we're not going to stand against the industry in general principle. If you can reach consensus, we'll work with you.
All right. Thank you, Director. Appreciate your coming.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Let's come back at 10:45, and we'll get with Metric and coffee line.
our goal is the same as the board's goal, is the same as the AMC's goal, is the same as the industry's goal, which is to see this as a
Placed into conference in listen-only mode. There are 38 participants in the conference.
with these groups, with this team, to make this successful. And we are open to doing so. And I just want to reassure everybody that those things are in our purview and that we feel that we can help. We're not the regulatory agency. We're absolutely not. We do not consider ourselves rule makers or law enforcement. We are a tool for the state and the industry to use so that they can become successful and help success, if that makes sense to everybody. Okay, so we do appreciate that opportunity. One thing I do want to address is a comment that was made earlier. One of the comments made earlier was, and I quote, Metric owns the data. We do not own the data. The information is Metric is not the property of Metric or Franlow. It is not our information. We do not sell it. We do not distribute it. As a matter of fact, we are highly protective of that information in there. It is not our place to disseminate or allow that information to be disseminated out. That is the property of the state. That is your information. It is what the state decides to do with that information. The state. So when we are constantly called by Cato Institute, Brookings Institute, universities, investors, banks, utility companies, and insurance companies are pretty obnoxious, to be quite frank, right? Everybody feels that they're entitled to this information and that they should have access to this information. They will not get it from us. I want to make that very clear. We will not provide that information to anyone without the express direction of the state. That is there to protect the state, and it is there to protect the licensees. We will not. We feel very strongly about that.
Is that a contract between the state and Franlow Elementary?
Yes, sir. We put that, regardless of whether it's put in by state or not, we put that in every contract. Because we want to make sure that we have the ability to say no. Because we don't, it's not our place to share that information.
And just briefly, do any other states allow you to share information to any degree with anybody besides their state agencies?
Most states will allow access to the system for people that they feel that need access to the system and access to that. States like Colorado, for instance, has allowed access to certain universities that they have partnered with to do studies and information of that nature. But that's, once again, that's up to state discretion.
And how about media access and media being, business publications or anything like that? I mean, I've seen economic reports from other states about, cannabis industry, and it's fairly detailed. They're getting it from somewhere. I don't know if they're just making phone calls or if they have access. Like, do you guys work in Oregon?
We do work in Oregon.
Okay, does the state of Oregon offer any access to the media? Just, general term.
Both Colorado and Oregon pull data out of the system and then they publish that information to the media, but nobody in the media has access to actual metrics.
Okay, all right, thanks.
And if you wouldn't mind letting me jump in here for a sec. This is an issue of what data should be available and whether we want individual licensee data to be available or aggregate data. And I would like to have the board have a discussion about this. Now is not really the right time. It's something, I've gotten requests Metric forwards things to me. I've gotten requests from other people, and it is something that we really do need to clarify a policy. So perhaps we can either talk about it later, maybe Thursday or Friday, or schedule something for August.
I just wanted to add that would also be a good opportunity for me to advise the board on the scope of the Public Records Act.
Sure, you bet. Okay, I'm going to shut up because I'm the one been asking for you guys to come, so please proceed.
Okay. At this point, we're going to do a demonstration, and Kelly will do a demonstration on the metric. This isn't a demo system. Once again, we wouldn't put up any individual licensees proper. That just wouldn't be appropriate for public record. Can I move this, or should we move?
Hopefully everybody can hear me. It has to be recorded. Okay. All right. You got it. Hello, everybody. My name is Kelly Jenkins. I'm one of the program managers of Metric. So as Scott mentioned, we're going to do a quick demo for you guys. Some of you, I do recognize some faces. Some of this will seem very basic. I'm just going to kind of walk you guys through how Metric tracks your inventory, how you guys will be able to enter plants into the system, how you'll phase them through the system, harvest them, create your so on. Basically going to walk you guys through the process, kind of show you guys how to do it, right? So right here we have a demo site. So this is just kind of a collection of some data that we've created to demonstrate for you guys, okay? So I'm going to start with some of the basic things. I apologize again if this is a little rudimentary for some of you guys. But this is Metric, all right? You guys log into Metric over the internet. You guys can access it through the browser. It is all cloud-based, okay? They just go to the domain. In case if you're in Alaska, they just go to ak.metric.com, -metric.com, and then you guys will be able to log in, okay? When logging into Metric, one of the first things that we will emphasize for people is basically all of your login information and support information up here in the right-hand corner. When any users first log in, much better. Thank you, Erica. So when users first log in, one of the first things that they'll see, of course, and one of the first things that should be checked is their login information. So one of the things that should go without saying, but sometimes a user will log in under somebody else's. Sometimes somebody saves their login information on a company computer. But basically, they'll have their login information here. They can see their employee badge number. That is the badge that is assigned to each employee by the state. They also have access to API keys. That's for integration for owners and administrators who are using API. And then you guys also have some additional functions, login history, and then you can see additional facilities. Okay. One of the important things I want to highlight right off the bat is the support tab. Every single user who logs into Metric has access to the support tab. Under the support tab, there are some basic resources available for training, guidance, things like that. How do I do this? How do I do that within Metric? Okay. This includes a comprehensive 200-page user manual, basically the ins and outs of Metric, of how it works. The user manual is generic. It's not designed for the specific state. So you guys also have a state-specific Alaska supplemental guide. It's kind of like the user guide, but it's catered specifically to Alaska. Right? Give you guys a little bit more specific direction on rules, regulations, things you have to do within Alaska for reporting. Okay. And then under this, we have additional support, so you guys will see all of our contact information, website, etc. And then we've also added some additional documents. Some of these are the requests of the industry. One of the most recent ones is a Metric CSV formatting guide. So a lot of people will enter information into Metric manually. Some people will enter the information using a third-party system, point of sale that utilizes API integration. The other option is basically importing data. So when you guys are uploading information to Metric, if you're a cultivator, you can upload plants that have been harvested, that have been planted, phase changes, room changes, you name it. Sales facilities can upload both package adjustments and sales reports. So you guys do have the ability to basically dump your sales into a spreadsheet
and upload them into Metric. Eliminate some of that manual entry, and you guys can still have all the data reported the way it needs to be, okay? So, underneath your login and support tab, you guys will see the facility license number. This facility license number is a license assigned to you guys by the state, right? So each one of these is unique. Nobody has access to any one of these licenses except for the licensed owner and the users they give access. The state, of course, has access to the information because they own it, and then Metric support in case you guys or the state need assistance with reconciling your data or reporting something, okay? For anybody who has multiple facilities, they can simply select the license number at the top. A drop-down menu appears, and they can select additional facilities. Okay? When you select a facility, it's going to pull up that facility's information and inventory. Okay? A couple important things as well. Notifications. So right here at the top, you guys will see a banner notification. Okay? This appears anytime you guys have a new alert. If there's a major change, if there's bulletins that have been released, if there's a new notification you guys should be aware of. You'll see this banner notification at the top, okay? Now, aside from the banner, you have the notifications themselves. So the notifications are in the top left-hand corner in this little envelope. It highlights orange when there's a new notification. And again, those could be anything from package adjustments, transfer errors, sales not reported, or bulletins, notifications to the industry, and so on, okay? Now, when you guys log into Metric, the first thing you're going to do, or I should rewind a little bit, the first thing that's going to happen is basically entering plans into the system. Lead to sales tracking, okay? So that means the first thing that gets entered into Metric are plants. So here I'm going to take you to a cultivation site, and we are looking at the plants tab on the far left-hand side, okay? Metric in general is fairly intuitive. Initially, we understand it can be a little bit intimidating, but it is rather easy to learn. Most of what you're doing is done the exact same way, just on a different page, okay? Everything in Metric flows just like a book. Start in the top left corner, goes from left to right, top to bottom, okay? So at the top, we have plants, packages, transfers. You'll have sales at the dispensaries, not shown here. And then you'll also have additional reports and then your admin functions, okay? Now, I'm going to touch on some of the initial setup real quick, but then we'll just get straight into the tracking, okay? Every facility needs to do their initial setup. This means creating a list of strains that you guys will be growing, items that you guys will be producing and selling, okay? Aside from your items, strains, you guys will also add employees, okay? Everything that's entered into Metric stays in Metric. Nothing is ever deleted, nothing ever disappears, period, okay? So, when you guys are entering information, you want to keep that in mind in cases of employees. Some areas of Metric, the information is validated, okay? So when you add an employee, when adding an employee, it's going to be asked for their employee license number. That's basically, this one's slightly different, sorry. But it's going to ask them for their employee information, which will also include an employee license number, your agent number, okay? This is validated with the state. If an employee or an agent has an expired badge, it can't be added into Metric, okay? When adding the employees, it'll ask for the rest of the information. You guys can set up their contact information, of course, if they're able to log in. Some employees do not need access to Metric whatsoever.
Mr. Chair. So employee number, is that like the marijuana handler card number? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, marijuana handler card number, correct.
Okay. I didn't realize we had an expiration date. I thought that was part of some of the issues we talked about. We do have an expiration date. Okay.
So when adding employees in, some employees do not need online access at all, okay? You guys should be adding all of your employees in. This can function as an employee roster for the state. You do not have to give them all access. If you have a bud tender or a grower, they're not even looking at Metric, there's no reason for them to log in. So you can simply click that button that says Enable Online Access. that employee will never be able to log in the metric or make any changes. Okay? For any of the employees that do need access to metric, you guys have a specific set of permissions. These permissions are somewhat granular, and they've been upgraded over the past year. Okay? So previously, some of you guys have been in the industry for even more than a year now. You'll remember permissions used to be simply you could have this tab, or this tab. Now you have the ability to give users view or management permissions for certain areas of metric. So if I want somebody who is maybe working in accounting to see my reports, see my inventory, see that information, but I don't want them making any changes, I can give them permissions, but not management permissions. That means the employee can log in, they can see, they can't do anything. If you want them to make changes, you can give them management permissions. Okay? So we kind of discussed permissions, locking employees down so certain people can't do everything. This is one of the ways you guys can help manage that. Okay? They also have the ability to add the employees in multiple facilities at a single time. So if I have 4 licensed facilities and I have a manager who works at all, I can simply toggle the 4 facilities they work at, and then I don't have to enter them individually each time. Okay? You also have a specific employment status. I would like to highlight this for you guys and emphasize that this should be marked as well. All of the owners at any licensed facility should be listed in the metric. They should be designated as an owner as well. Same thing for key administrators. If you're a manager at a facility, you should be registered as a manager, not just a standard employee, right? Okay. Once you guys have added all the information for adding an employee, they simply scroll down to the bottom, and then you'll find the green button that says Create Employees. Okay. Once you guys click that, the employees will be added directly into your employee database. Okay? From here, you guys have the ability to edit them. You have the ability to lock or unlock employees as needed, and you have the ability to completely disable them from the system and remove them. Okay? After employees, the users would enter their rooms, strains, and items. Okay? Now, for rooms are basically locations within a facility where inventory is located. If I'm a cultivator, I might have bedroom 1, bedroom 2, bedroom 3, something like that, right? The room is basically a way for you guys to more easily identify where your product is. But this is not just for you, it's also for your investigators. If you guys have a cultivation and you guys have separate rooms, an investigator should be able to walk into the facility and see the rooms labeled. Bedroom 1, bedroom 2, bedroom 3, and so on. Right? Simple paper sign on the door or something like that. So when they see bedroom 1 in your metric inventory, they can walk right to that same room at your facility. Okay? Just makes it a little bit simpler. But these are also important for you guys because you have the ability to record information to plants by room. Okay? If you guys are using additives, fertilizers, pesticides, things like that, if you guys are thinning your plants before the harvest, a lot of these things involve obviously more than one plant. So rather than recording it as a single plant, you guys could, for example, thin out an entire room, record waste from that entire room together one time. Okay? So that's where rooms come in. It also factors in for phase changes, room changes, and other harvests. And that will make more sense. Let's take you guys a little bit further here. Okay? Now, just go ahead and touch on real quick. You also have strains and items. Okay? Most of these probably self-explanatory to you guys currently, but regarding strains and items, it is critical that these are created correctly, right? A lot of you guys will have different strains. Everybody wants to name a strain after their mother, brother, sister, you name it, right? It's perfectly acceptable, but what a lot of people like to do is use acronyms. So if I'm growing Blue Dream, maybe I name it BD. There's over 500,000 strain names in Colorado alone, all right? You guys have at least 100,000 here, and these are growing regularly. All right, not only is that acronym going to fit another strain, it can be confusing. All right, odds are that not all your staff members will even understand what the acronym is for, let alone investigators, customers, and so on. Right? So we just kind of emphasize, keep it simple. You guys want to make sure that things are labeled very clearly for you, for your staff, for the state, but honestly, most importantly for your customers. It's important that when they come in, they know actually exactly what they're getting, right? Now, for adding the strains in, it's just like an employee. Up in the top left corner, you guys will have your action button. Just click Add Strains, and then a new window will pop up where you can populate the strain information, okay? Everything in Metric is entered almost this exact same way. You'll go to the Property tab, select an action, and then you can record the information, okay? As far as adding strain name, again, simply keep it simple, spell it out. Now, as far as the testing information here, this is slightly different. So in Alaska, all your guys' test results are uploaded directly to your packages, okay? Your labs will do the testing. Your labs will upload the test results. You guys can use this test status here. It's more like an internal reference, okay? These are not your official test results. Your test results are attached to the package, okay? So when a user enters this information, again, this is kind of an internal reference. You can enter the THC content, CBD, and then you also have the indica sativa breakdown. Just like your employees and your rooms, you can add them into multiple facilities at the same time. So again, basically, if you have 3 or 4 licenses, you don't have to enter everything in 3 or 4 times. Okay? Now, just to make sure we keep this on time, I'm going to go ahead and jump straight to the tracking portion. Okay? So now I'm going to take you guys over to the plants section. This is where everything begins. Okay? Now, when we click on the plants tab, you'll see the tabs underneath populate. We have immature, and then we have an inactive tab for immature plants. We have vegetative and flowering, our mature plants, and then we have an inactive tab. So once again, nothing is ever deleted from Metric. Anything you guys have ever added in there is still in there. If you can't find it in the active section, it means it's in the inactive section, or it means it's no longer at your facility. It was transferred out. Okay? So anytime you guys are looking for something, and the reason I bring this up is we do often get that question, this just disappeared. Nothing disappears. It's in there somewhere. Either it was transferred from the facility, or it may just be sitting in the inactive tab. Okay? Now, starting with the immature tab, right? This is how our plants enter the system. We are going to create clones or plants from seeds. Okay? Now, there are 2 ways to do this. The first way is basically for brand new licensees. Okay? If you're a new licensee, you have to create your inventory from nothing because you don't have any inventory, right? For existing licensees, it's different. Everything must be created from something, okay? So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you guys over to this vegetative tab. This is where all of our vegetative plants are listed. I'm going to show you guys how to create an immature plant batch from a mother plant, okay? Now, Metric doesn't make a distinction between a mother plant and any other, all right? A mother plant is whatever you decide to take clones from, okay? Possibly. That has a couple of variables, so we may have to circle back to that. But I'll see if we have time to circle back to that, if that's all right. So the first thing is taking an immature plant batch from a mother plant, okay? Any of the plants in your vegetative section can be a mother plant. So to create an immature plant batch, physically I would find my plants, take the clones from it, and then I just have the tag number. When I log into Metric, I can find the tag number. Easy way to do this is use the last 4 digits, okay? You have column settings, basically a way to search and filter, okay, for those of you guys who aren't familiar. So if I'm looking for a specific tag, for example, I take the last 4 digits, I go to search, and then I can simply enter in those 4 digits. However many plants are in your facility, Metric's going to narrow that list down to the ones that fit. All right, by using the last 4 digits, you should almost never have a duplicate. Okay, it's a very rare occasion where you guys will end up on this different cycle. You get a new patch of tags where some of them end in the same, but you guys will almost never have a situation where even the last 4 digits match. And no 2 tags, the tags are all 24 digits. No 2 tags ever match 100%. Okay, so you guys can also do a barcode scanner to scan the tags in. All right? So from here, we have a mother plant, just a fully grown vegetative plant. We're going to highlight it and click Create Plantings. Okay? By highlighting this beforehand, it specifies that that is the plant I am taking immature plants from. That's how I get my chain of custody. Okay? So the first line at the top is the plant that we're taking the clones from. The second line is the group name. The group name defaults to the mother's tag number. Typically, we recommend that you guys clarify that simply by adding in the strain name and the date. Okay? Not a specific format, but this makes it significantly easier for you guys to identify. Okay? Next, you guys can select whether it's a clone or a seed. In this case, it's definitely a clone. If you guys don't know the difference between the two, you can go ahead and surrender your license. Then you're going to select your strain name. So the strain name has to be populated from the list that you guys just created, right? If you haven't created the strain, you will not be able to select it here, right? So if I'm looking for Blue Kush, I can't just type it in. It has to have been created in my strain database, right? So we select the correct strain and then the date. And then once we're done from there, we just verify our entries and click Create Plantings. Okay? Now what this is going to do is it's going to create an immature plant batch, case with 5 immature plants, or clones. Moving back to the Immature tab, you guys will see up here at the top of the list, we now have our immature plant batch. Okay? So AK-47 from June 13, 2018. We have 5 plants living. And an important thing for those of you guys on the industry side, pay attention to this origin column on the right-hand side. One of these 2 columns should always be populated. If you see a column that's empty, like this one underneath, that means there is no origin plant, there is no origin package. So what does that mean? That means it was created from nothing. No chain of custody. Okay? When it has an origin plant or an origin package, that means you guys followed the correct chain of custody and it was created from something. Basically, clones will come from plants and seeds will come from packages. Okay? Now the next step from here, we're going to fast forward in time about a week, 2 weeks, depending on your guys' growth cycle, and then we move the immature plants into vegetative. So to do this, I highlight the immature plant batch, select Change Growth Phase. Okay. Now, this is where the users will assign plant RFID tags to the plants themselves. Please remember, your immature plants do not need to be tagged. All right, your plants are not tagged until they're 8 inches tall. The reason for this is simply because of the high mortality rate. Okay, if you plant 100 clones and 50 of them die, you're not wasting 50 tags. Okay. So we've selected the group we're going to move into veg. We specify how many plants we want to move, and then we assign plant tags. Now, assigning plant tags is pretty straightforward. All right, the first thing we would do is we would have our plant tag. Okay? So these are just a couple fake dummies here. We would take the first tag off and select it as the starting tag number. Okay? Based on how many tags, or how many plants we are tagging, Metric will automatically assign each tag to a plant. So if I'm tagging 50 plants, 500 plants, or 5 plants, Metric is automatically going to assign as many tags as possible. The only limitation is how many tags you have left. Okay? If you're trying to tag 50 plants, Metric's going to tell you you only have 6 tags left. Order tags, because you can't tag the ones you guys have, right? Next, you're going to select the phase, and then you're going to select the room that the plants are going into. And then finally, the change date. Okay? Now at this point, this is where I'd like to highlight that all this that I'm showing you guys today is manual entry. You have 3 ways to submit information in Metric. Manual entry, CSV uploads, and then you have API integration. with third-party software. Okay. There are limitations with the last two in terms of what you can upload and what is pushed through API, but we can discuss that a little bit more. Okay. Once we've entered the information, we again click the green button to submit it. It changes the face, and it's processed immediately. So if you guys look, you'll see that the AK-47 immature plants that we had, they're now gone. Okay. Or I should say the immature plant batch is gone. Over here in our vegetative section, after I clear my filter, we have a full list of all of our plants, and I can identify the most recent plants that we put in. Okay. So the 5 plants that we just tagged, you guys can see here. Okay. Now you can verify them. You guys can search for them by strain, by room, by tag number. You gotta name it. Okay. All I did in this case was simply click the phase date column. Everything that was moved most recently comes right to the top of the list. Okay. Now the next step from here, and again, fast forward in time, maybe a month or two, plants are ready to move into flowering. Okay. To do this, we select the plants that we want to move, and then we do a change growth phase. This is how we will switch them from veg to flower. Okay. Now on these phase changes, you guys can do these by room. If you've got 100 plants in one room and you're switching them all to flowering, you can switch them all with the click of one button. Okay? I'll show you that in just a second. Up at the top, you guys will see a template here. This template appears in many areas of metric. Basically, the template will allow you to enter information into the template itself, and then the information cascades down to the items underneath. So in this case, I'm going to enter in the changes we want into the template. And then as I click these green check boxes, you'll see the information cascade down and apply to each individual plant underneath. Okay? Once we're done, click the green button to change the face. All right, now the plants have moved veg into flowering. I can do the same thing, sort by dates. And then here I can see the plants that we just moved into flowering. Okay? Now that we have our plants in flowering, next step from here is actually to harvest them. Now to harvest, I highly recommend you guys use CSV uploads if you aren't already. But of course, you can always manually report your harvests. To do that, we simply select the plants, and then we're going to click Harvest. This will enter in their harvest information. Okay. Now, a couple of things that we emphasize on this that we discussed, we are clarifying with the industry. Some issues they run into, like multi-strain harvests, combining different plants and different strains together into a single harvest, things like that. Okay. So you want to make sure you have all of your plants strain specific. You'll have a harvest name, just like we added an immature plant batch name. Okay. Strain name, the date. That names our harvest, so we know what it is and when we did it. Next, we enter the unit of measurement, the drying room that the product is going into, and then our harvest date. Okay. So all that information can be entered into the template. The last piece of information is the weight. So this is where you guys will enter in the harvest weight of your plants. Okay? The harvest weight is entered when you first cut down your plants. So you're
Mr. Jenkins,
yes, sir.
Pardon me for interrupting, but I think we were kind of more interested, at least I think the board was more interested in a description of how metric works and what it does, how it interacts with our regulatory process, with the investigators. We've had things, we're not, I mean, I appreciate you going through this kind of on a tutorial basis. I don't know how many cultivators we have in the room right now, but I think everybody that's got a license has been through all this. we've had to look at some, at least to me, some pretty incomprehensible pages from metric in enforcement actions. So I wonder if you could kind of segue into us on everything from a few minutes on the history of the business. Tell us who else you're working with, and we will have questions for you, I know, from the board. But I kind of appreciate that a little bit more. I mean, thank you for going through that. That is useful to see what the entry process is. But we've got about half an hour left, and I'd like to be able to use wisely.
Sure, no problem. We can spend a few minutes. Can I just throw a couple things on support? Can you flip over to the presentation real quick? And then I'll answer any questions. We'll talk about what we're doing in other places. But because one of the things we did want to address here was talk a little bit about support and what we'd like to see, what we can do working with the industry themselves, working with the board, working with the AMCO. Let's just get to the guts of it. Basically, there's a lot of testing, there's a lot of training tools we offer the state, right, and the industry. Keep going. Basically, we wanted to share a couple of pieces of information. Oh, we lost it. There we go. Now I'm back. Okay. So we did some statistical analysis, and we ran some data points, and we really want to encourage the industry to take more advantage of what we're doing. Right now, we offer basically 26 new business classes a year. We cut that down by 2/3 because of participation. Basically, we weren't getting people involved in the classes. We offer, each one of our training classes can handle up to 70 people, and we're running less than 10% in any given class. Last year we had a little spike where we got up to about 30% attendance to training classes. But I will tell you right now, we're running about 5 to 6 people per class. We run classes with this view. That's here in Alaska. To put that in perspective, other states, we are actually booked out 2 to 3 weeks in advance with full participation. Okay, so we'd like to see what we can do to get more participation in the training classes. We have 23 advanced classes, 116 industry users trained, 3 classes canceled. We're canceling a number of classes due to lack of participation. And we'd like to see what we can do to get that. We've done 4 workshops. We've had to cancel a couple of those workshops. We did a workshop yesterday. We got really good attendance to that. It was about 30 people. However, we were almost going to cancel it, because until a week and a half ago, we had 1 registering. So the board, it's been up for about 2 months. The workshop has been notified for about 2 months. And until literally 48 hours ago, we only had 1, was it 1 or 4? 4, I'm sorry, we had 4 people sign up. So we really want to see people taking advantage of the program. Another little bit of a startling revelation we had is we ran 1,340 support tickets for the entire state of Colorado in the last 12, Oregon, I got Oregon's and Colorado's numbers in my head. We're at 1,340 support tickets from June 1st of last year to June 1st of this year. Okay? And we did 425 phone calls for a year. Okay? Put that in perspective. Colorado did over 30,000 support tickets, and Oregon did over 20,000 support tickets. We average between 1.3 and 1.6 phone calls or tickets per licensee per month. Here we're averaging about 0.3. So we did 1,340 support tickets and 425 phone calls. We would have expected that based on our normal run rates to be over 3,000 tickets and about 1,300 phone calls. We're just not engaged enough with the industry. We want to be. Okay, we have over 30 support people dedicated to the phone lines, and we run them until we have people that are specifically on call for Alaska, and they all have World of Warcraft accounts that they're not allowed to use until 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So, I'm kidding, we don't do that. So, but the support resources are there, and we want and are actively encouraging the industry in the state. Let's take advantage of it. We want to help, right? We want to do these things. We're just talking to a lady in Juneau who said, "Would you please come to Juneau?" And I'm like, "I will happily put somebody on a plane to go to Juneau if you promise me
that I'm not going to get 2 people. It's expensive to fly to Juneau. I'm happy to drop the $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 to spend to go to Juneau and put people in the class, but I want to get 30 people in that class, 25, 20 people. All right, I just want to get bodies and butts in seats. Excuse my language. Right, that's just what we want people in seats. So if we can get that, we really want to see people take advantage of the system and the capability of it. So, all right, I'll off my soapbox now. Yes.
So just kind of touch on that, and I'm certain some of the folks behind me will echo this. And this is something we heard yesterday in the workshop and today as well, is in general people are looking for more guidance. Now this is something, one of the things they have asked for that I think we can work on and remedy quickly. So one of these things would be bulletins. So things like reporting waste, harvest, some of the things we discussed, they have questions on that they're looking for guidance on. Some of that we can work in tandem with the AMCO to make sure that we have more routine, more regular bulletins being sent out to the industry. One of the other concerns is the bulletins are posted for a brief period of time. So we're looking at expanding that so we can make sure that everybody has access to the bulletins. But that's one of the concerns that I think that plays into a lot of this that I think we can work on immediately.
Yeah, I was going to ask about those bulletins. Does AMCO have the ability to generate a bulletin?
They don't have the ability to post or generate one directly. I guess they could generate one and send it to us to post. They don't have the ability to post it directly.
Okay, because it seems like that, although as you say, they're held for a limited period of time, seems like that might be a good vehicle for us when we have circular advisory sent out to use that. Do you use the bulletins to announce upcoming trainings in Alaska?
Yes.
Seeing some violent head shaking in the back.
Okay, so a couple of
and we do have some people that have been waving their hands pretty hard. We'll figure out a way to get to you.
Yes.
But okay, go ahead.
Okay, so a couple of things. We have a scheduler that is on the public website. Okay, on metric.com, not on ak.metric, public website. That scheduler has all the training classes on it, and anybody can sign up for training class at any of the available dates. I promise if we start filling up the training classes, we will add more. There's no limit on that, right? We run probably 9, 10 training classes for each individually for Colorado, Oregon, and other states, right? We offer multiple based on the number of people required or requesting training. So that's all available. So that scheduler's on there. We can certainly put that up there. The state can create any bulletins they want. We can use that, and we post them on the state's behalf. We have emergency notifications that we can put up that are global, depending on the levels of issues, and we have that available. We also, and I won't go into this too much detail, but we've done over 300 plus industry requests, and in the last 2 months, hopefully the industry noticed that we've added about 15 feature changes that were requests from industry folks. You guys now hopefully have seen those bulletins and noticed that you can actually now monitor your own employees' login history, right? So that was a feature request came from the industry. So we're very responsive to industry requests based on scheduling time, state requests. We've also created what we call a wiki-style library that we're going to be working with the AMCO on. That wiki-style area is, for all those who are familiar with Wikipedia, one of the requests we've had in other states is industry's kind of lost between metric and rules and regulations and all these different things that are coming out of all these different places. So what we've done is we've created a wiki-style library where we can link to or post everything, so that the industry can have a one-stop shop to be able to get all the access. So we can put in there links to state rules, regulations, documentation, downloads, plus have metric libraries, a one-stop shop area. So that we've created that functionality. Now we actually have to build each one out for the states, which obviously takes some resources and some time and takes a good deal of collaboration, but we can work on that over time.
The trainings, those are part of the contract with the state?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so the state basically pays for you guys to come do the trainings? Is that part of the cost of
that's our contract? It's all built into the contract. We don't have any hard and fast numbers. Basically, our point is
we'll eat the cost of it because we want the program to work.
Right. Okay. So I mean, my point there is that it is kind of surprisingly low numbers. We have had during enforcement issues, people said, oh, I had trouble figuring out metric. I think a couple of times you said to people, well, have you been to the training? So please keep in mind, everybody listen on the phone here, the training is there. Take advantage of it. There's,
for the managers of the facilities and the owners of the facilities,
yeah.
we actually have a training management system. We call it our learning management system, where we keep track of everybody that's been trained and what they've been trained on. We're investing hundreds of thousands of dollars into a new automated testing training program specifically driven by industry requests. We're going to be creating an automated library over the next 12 months that will allow each person to take a supplemental of one of the training courses, pass a test if that's what the management wants, and keep a record of that so somebody can go in as a manager or an owner. I can go in and see all of my employees' training history and see who was trained on what, when they were trained on it, if they passed tests, all those things. Those are not anything that we're contractually obligated to doing, but they're things that we want to do because we want to affect positive change for people and be able to make sure, because this industry has a horrible problem with turnover. And it's not Alaska-based, okay? This is an industry-wide problem that we see across all states.
Okay. Do you have training that is designed for the regulators?
Yes, sir.
So you think you could maybe make something work with Erica and with James and make something that's available for for our staff and for our attorney to kind of the high-level view they need?
As long as it's not James. No, I'm kidding. Yes, absolutely.
January's a warm these days.
We certainly can do that.
And do you have anything? Do you have a syllabus for enforcement officers in particular that shows them how to really drill down into it? So they can do their job and.
Yes, sir. It's been something that we've been moving a little bit on the fly with because, as you know, this is a relatively new industry, and really our whole database of history only goes back to 2014. I realize this industry moves in dog years, right? That's a long time. But from an enforcement perspective and from that, it takes a while to really understand what we're looking at. And it's taken us a while to get to that point so we can properly provide the resources to the state. But we're vastly improved over where we were a couple of years ago.
Any board members got any questions, comments? You said you may have something, sir.
Yeah, I had a couple here. So we something we can take up at a different time of the discussion, but I think we might need a resolution to disseminate information to the appropriate entities at the state's discretion, so we can actually use the information that Metric provides. They have it. They say we own it. We may need some sort of a vessel to work between the individuals who we want to have the information and Metric. I did have a question, a suggestion for you guys, and this might be something that we adopt as a board to get them to change, is being able to search for tag numbers by the ID number in the for a concentrate manufacturer, which I own a manufacturing license. You can search for contains in a lot of the fields, except in the place where you're actually looking for the marijuana tags. You can only search for the last number, but there could be multiple last numbers, and you have to go through it. Whereas if you were actually able to search by a cultivator or the originating facility's identifier, then you could take all those packages that you're trying to pull from that individual and be able to look at them all at once. One of the things that's frustrating about Metric and time-consuming is having to go in and search for package after package, whereas if you guys altered it to have a contained section, you could type in an identifier there, and then bam, all that populates. That would be really helpful.
There's a couple of things that we have on the roadmap. One of those is the ability, especially for processors, where it is a lot of information. There's one thing we did add was the rooms capability. Or is it still on? Yeah.
No. All right, so we can address that. There's rooms capability that we're looking at, but we're also looking at providing the ability to search across multiple licenses, so that as a processor, when you have multiple licenses, that you can search across for tags or specific things across multiple, not just in that particular instance. So that's on our roadmap.
Okay. And then the issue about being able to create packages from nothing, can you still do that? And if so, why is that still enabled? I think we had discussed about not allowing people to create packages from nothing anymore.
Yeah,
okay.
We have to allow a certain period of grace on that. The state has to be able to allow people to make things. It's a global change. It's not something that we can do individually by ourselves. So when we turn that functionality off, it's either on or it's off. So it is off now, but we have to leave it open for a particular period of time to allow everybody to get in the system. But it should be going.
Okay, good. That was an issue that we had in the state with individuals creating packages from nothing, and then enforcement had to do quite a lot of work to figure out whether those packages were real, were they not, turned out a lot of them were not real, but
yes,
okay, that's good to know. And then the other one was possibly something for board discussion. I've noticed that a lot of issues with metric, people not knowing metric, and we're hearing that there's just exceptionally low attendance or and a low ask for help. It might be something that this board looks at requiring that you have a metric certification, same like you get your handler card. Okay, so if we're getting tons of calls about people, having difficulties with metric, but they're not attending the classes, then that's something that we might think about requiring.
And I want to reassure you that this is not something that is typical of Alaska. It's a lot. There, as I said, the industry in other states is as high as 70% turnover rates, which is abysmal. And it's unfortunate. It's a big bone anchor that all the industry has to deal with. But we have had a lot of these things pleading from managers and owners to, how can I literally had people ask me, can you make a video telling my employees how important it is? I'm like, you provide them a paycheck, that should be all the incentive they need. So we're happy to work with the state and the industry, specifically the industry, on requirements, right, that we believe that, as owners, I would want, because I put myself in the position of an owner of a company. I would want to make sure that my people are trained. I would want to require them to have training. And, I'm going to audit you. I'm going to go out, I'm going to find out. I told you I want you to get trained in the next 90 days, and I'm going to call metric and find out if you've been audited, if you've been trained. And if you haven't, you're suspended until you've done so. But we can work with the industry on programs however we want to. Again, metric is an important reporting tool, and ultimately our belief is, when you get into things like diversion and consumer safety and all of those things, those all play back to proper reporting. And it's the old software adage, garbage in, garbage out. We want to see good data in the system. We want people to report correctly. And the only way to do that is make sure they know what they're doing.
Well, thank you.
Hey, Nick?
During your guys' training yesterday, did you hear any comments about people calling metric and not really being able to get good support and then waiting 2 days for an email?
So in some cases, and some people had raised some concerns about this, about either not getting communication back or about support. Some of them were centered around also new staff, which we have new staff that are bringing on, and basically there's an escalation process. With Alaska, fortunately and unfortunately, a lot of licensees here are past the point of, how do I create a package, how do I report a sale, a lot of this basic stuff. So when they're calling in, most of them are getting a level 1 support, and a lot of these guys, especially if they're calling in with testing issues, basically anything that's not a basic fundamental issue, their situation gets escalated. So it goes straight to level 2 support and level 3 and so on based on what the issue is. So they did express that concern. I did discuss it with them. There's a couple things we can work on there. As far as the escalation process, it's in place for a reason. One of the things I did recommend is rather than calling, they can email a ticket basically to our support line with basic information. here's my name, license, here's the issue, could you have somebody call me back? And basically that would allow them to send an email, and then instead of waiting on the phone or going through different channels, they get a call back directly from the proper support personnel. They did raise that concern.
One thing I'd like to make sure, excuse me, one thing we're clear on is we usually have about 90% of our calls are closed within 6 to 8 hours. But we do run into, and this is one thing I'd tell the board and tell the industry, when we get into things like testing issues, those things can take days to close out because you're not talking about a single licensee with a single instance of an issue, right? Oh, I made a package incorrectly. Okay, that can be resolved by a level 1 support person. But when you take a product and then you have a testing issue where you now have the licensee, you have the lab, and potentially a receiving entity, now we're beholden to each one of those to respond in kind to what their issue is. You run in, you'll notice that our testing tickets can take sometimes up to a week to resolve if we're not getting, if we're not getting good data back, or we're not getting responses, because everybody's busy. So there are issues and instances, yeah, absolutely. We will take a couple of days to get back, depending on what we're getting into, right? Because we could have a product that was incorrectly shipped to a lab, the lab tested it, it came back, but it was reported incorrectly. I can give you different scenarios, but the bottom line is in testing instances and things that involve labs, they can take much longer depending on what the extent of the issue is.
Well, and I guess back to the original question, does it take 2 days to get from level 1 to level 2 support?
It really depends. I'm not trying to be cryptic, I'm really not. I'd have to look at the instances. I mean, if we have something that's a level 1 that's taking 2 days to close it, that's absolutely unacceptable, right? But if it's a lab issue where it's a level 2 or even possibly a level 3 issue, then that could take a couple of days, yes. But we don't, and I can give you some statistics on close rates.
I'm very curious because, the call volume seems to be very low, but the chatter volume seems to be very loud about not getting good support. So maybe the folks have stopped calling for support, and they're calling each other, and then possibly making the issue worse. Maybe you guys consider graduating users to level 2 and let them call level 2 if they have a problem instead of someone who just opened the cultivation, because the issues. Some of the issues they have would take 5 minutes to fix if they had the right person, but it takes 3 days to get the right person.
Right.
And are there SLAs in the contract? Service level agreements that, they have to provide service tech? You don't know.
We certainly have SLAs around system performance and things like that. I'd have to go back and look at the calls.
I'd be very curious to see the service level agreement for responses on calls.
Yeah, absolutely. We can look into that.
Thank you.
And we do take support very seriously. So if there's issues, we want to hear about them. That's why you have a state program manager and then me.
To the chair, Mr. Miller, your point well taken. I've actually heard that it can take quite a while to get back, and that's something that we could address through the contract. For myself as a board member, I'd rather hear, we can assure that we're going to get back to your licensees in 6 hours, but it's going to cost you this, then, well, maybe it's just going to take a couple days, I'd much rather us actually look at what it's going to cost for you guys to expand your scope and be able to answer even tough questions in the same day than just not. Because if a business can't sell its product, then it loses money. That creates incentive for people to try to make fixes. It creates more work for enforcement. And so really just a smoother system is better.
Yep. Well, we're absolutely. Let's find those instances and let's figure out what was going on and we'll address them and get them cleaned up.
Mr. Jones, any questions? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
I have concerns about the fact that your attendance is so low to your trainings. How do you notify licensees of the trainings? Because I have heard that some licensees haven't even heard about them until after they occurred. So I'm just curious.
All of the training classes are on the scheduler. We inform the training. Each when we bring on a new licensee, when the state approves a new licensee, they automatically have to take metric. One of the very first parts of the training program is to tell people how to get training, right? And so the scheduler is, like I said, public domain, right? Anybody can go on there, they can log on, see the dates available, select on the date. If there's availability in the class, they sign up for it. The only thing they have to have is their name, employee license number, badge number, right? Because we only train. Now, and I want to be clear about this, we do not train people that are not badged employees in the industry. So there are people that are frustrated that we won't train them. We have no contractual obligations to train any consultants or any lawyers or any people that think they want to get into the industry. We do not train those people. We will only train people that are badged license holders of a business, because we don't want that taking up all of our bandwidth for people that want to knock on doors and become trainers and become metric experts and become industry consultants. So we are only here to train licensees in the state. So there's some people that we will not offer training to. But for the rest, the scheduler, and there's on the website, they can pull down and click the link and go to scheduler. We can put out bulletins or other communication.
I would suggest that you at least put out some bulletins on the Alaska site for the Alaska, because, I mean, telling people to go look at a website for training, you look at it, you sign up, you forget, then you miss the training, or you mean to go look. If you could at least do the bulletins, I mean, I don't think that costs anything, right? 30 days before the class starts or something, or whatever your guys' schedule needs to be, at least put a bulletin out on people's accounts so they can, schedule their employees appropriately.
So just to clarify on that, so we have online webinar trainings. Those are the ones that are available through the scheduler. Those are constant and recurring. There's at least one every single week, new business and advanced class. So those we don't send out bulletins for just because they're constantly recurring. If you guys would like bulletins, we could certainly discuss that on those ones. The other part of training are the in-person workshops. To date, we've only had two attempts. Last time was in October of last year. We ran into the same situation. We did distribute a bulletin, but I believe we had one total registrant for the workshop. This one, we did send out. This is one of the points that came up in the workshop yesterday. So the bulletins, when they're posted basically in that mailbox that I showed you guys earlier. They stay there for about a week, and they only get a banner notification for about 3 days. It's not uncommon for users to completely miss the notification, both banner and the envelope in some cases. But one of the things we can address with that is, number one, extending it. And instead of just a banner notification, the banner is basically going to point users to their bulletins, and then we can leave the bulletins posted for longer, 2, 3, 4 weeks if needed. So, but all in-person training will have a bulletin with them. Yes.
Okay, so the websites you're talking about, and those are the ones up there, the new classes, the advanced classes, those are Alaska specific?
Yes, those are Alaska.
Okay, all right. Let me see if staff got questions. Looks like you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to add on to that. I think there are probably some things we could add to our website, some links, maybe links to the training sign-up thing that would just offer another option that licensees might notice. Metric did send out a bulletin about yesterday's class. We sent out a reminder on Monday, which was a little later than I had intended, but that was what happened. And we did get a lot of feedback that people had not seen the bulletin. So I think we can also do in the office more coordination about getting the word out about some of these things.
So one of the, kind of put a fine point on that is we'll probably work on its mutual distribution. So drafting a bulletin, we'll post it, we'll have it distributed by the state at the same time it's posted in metrics, so that way everybody should have access to it. And then this also falls in line with the wiki-style documents that Scott was discussing, where they'll be posted in there at all times.
Yeah, it seems like if you get 30,000 calls from Colorado, you should have a heck of a wiki. Are you getting questions, Harriet? Okay. I promise we take some questions here before you throw your shoulder out, and I've had my shoulder dislocated at that field, so come on up, stand next to the microphone, and tell us who you are, and go ahead and ask a real quick question.
This is more just an experience of what I went through with the training class yesterday. Nicole Christensen, Fire Eater Edibles. I did a trend the metric class yesterday. I saw the bulletin metric. I saw the banner ad. When I went into the training and there was another tab that said workshop, it did not give me yesterday as an available option. So from the industry side, I go to look at the training, it's not available. My thoughts are either the class is already full or they cancel it. So then when we got the email Monday, I went, oh cool, I tried to go back in, it still was not available to register through Metric. So when I emailed, I think it was Craig, back and says, hey, he told me just go ahead and show up to be fine. I showed up, the class was full, and I'm going, oh, no wonder it wasn't available for me to register if the class was full. I actually ended up sitting on the floor yesterday because there was that many people in that room. So from an industry side, how are we supposed to sign up for classes that aren't available for us to register for?
Great, thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
So regarding the registration issue, this was twofold. So one, the registration is closed 48 hours before the training is set to occur. That's just kind of standard as part of the programming. I'll accept responsibility for that one. We did fix it. It was still a little bit late. In this particular instance, it was actually because the class did fill up, though, that the registrations were closed as well. So it was twofold. I do apologize for that, though.
One other thing on that. One of the reasons that we do that is so that we have the proper training and we have the people on board and scheduled for it. So let's take this out. If we had a week beforehand or 2 weeks that we had noticed that class had filled up, we would have scheduled another class. Right? We are not ever going to turn away people that want to be trained. So in that particular instance, this is one of those we need people to engage early, not the last minute if possible.
And I didn't know that the registration closed 48 hours, so sending out something the day before saying, hey, it's not too late. I may have phrased it differently if I had known, so I, kind of learning how to make it better.
Okay, great. Is there one more question or comment, not a technical necessarily issue, but somebody got something? Go ahead. Yeah, please.
She has a license holder. Would a simple remedy be an email to license holders from Metric? I mean, we've got a point of sale. They email me constantly. I'm not going on to Metric to look at bulletins or other things. My staff is. But if you sent me as an owner, we're having a training, months in advance, I'm going to make sure I've got people at that training. I'm not getting those, so I'm waiting for the state. It would help the state. If you could provide outreach, direct email contacts, business, industry ownership, I think it would solve some of this.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty simple. I don't know if you guys have an email.
Actually, we did do that for a long time, and then we got people that called in and said, stop emailing me, you guys stop spamming me. So it's kind of a, darned if you do, darned if you don't.
Got one more.
Rebecca Ryan, and with Midnight Sun Manufacturing. Can we get some kind of guidance when new features become available in Metric and how to use them with existing regulations? For instance, the waste tab got added a few months ago, but we don't have any guidance on whether or not that supersedes the enforcement notice that we send for waste destruction. So it'd be great if you guys could work on getting us some guidance when those new features go live.
And I will take responsibility for that. Talked multiple times. They asked us for information, and I just was not able to get that done.
Okay, great. Anybody else got anything else over here at the table? Okay, you guys got a 30-second wrap-up for us, or we appreciate your coming?
No, we're glad to be here. Once again, I view this as a partnership we're never going to shy away from. Criticism, questions, things that you guys want, things that you guys need. Like I said, we're not a typical software company. I'm going to come in here and drop a software system and walk away. Let's figure out what we need to do to make things
better. I did have one more thing. Nobody brought up the dreaded G word. Interfaces between Metric and Greenbits and other point of sale. Has that been a topic of discussion in-house with your engineers? Are you aware of the issues that, at least in our state, people are having, that in some cases are getting them into beefs, enforcement beefs? At least they say it's because Greenbits doesn't talk to Metric. We've had some significant ones. Is that on you guys' roadmap interfaces?
We have a whole discussion point with integrators. They cross multiple state lines. We talk to integrators every day. We're in 10 states, District of Columbia, right? So all I deal with on a regular basis as integrators and what their desires are. If you guys are having specific issues, I just need to know and understand what they are. We do take it very seriously, and we have a lot of conversations with integrators about making sure that the data and information they're passing over is correct.
Okay, well, I guess I'd suggest either you run really fast out the door or you take your time, because you'll get near full on that issue.
If I may, just one last thing. One concern, this came up yesterday, that falls in line with the integration is, and this happens in every industry in every state, there is some misinformation. Sometimes it filters over in some cases from different states or who knows where. Some of that can come from integrators as well. So there are some issues that may not be an integrator issue, or it may be, and there's just miscommunication. So with any of those issues, we do follow an escalation process, and as Scott said, we do address it directly with the integrators themselves. But some of them, a lot of times, frankly, the licensees can be left kind of in the lurch. Fighting between two companies where it's, their fault or their fault type of thing. So I'm sure you guys understand how that goes, but we do address all those issues.
Yeah, I think in the software industry in general, try to avoid problems like that. So, all right. Well, thank you very much for coming. We've looked forward to this. We hope we'll hear from you again anytime you're up here doing an in-person training and it coincides, with one of our meetings. Stick around an extra day and at least sit in the audience so people get a chance to talk to you, and maybe we'll have more questions for you. So thank you very much. And we will see everybody at 1 o'clock.